And in fact, so you also brought up this idea about employees having no say or they're being told to vote a certain way, how that was also part of this ruling. And you're correct. And in fact, we can go back, and I'm going to play a video on this. The Koch Industries, they sent out in 2010 a packet of candidates that they wanted their employees to vote for. They sent out a letter with a packet, and they instructed their employees to do so. And it was a very sort of threatening way that if you don't, we're going to be very angry. You might lose your job, this kind of a thing. So I want to play a video just so people know about this history, because I think it is definitely a stepping stone to where we are today.
In an article titled Big Brothers Thought Control at Koch, Mark Ames and Mike Elk report on an urgent letter that Koch Industries sent to most of its 50,000 employees on the eve of the November elections. The letter advised them on whom to vote for and warned them of the dire consequences to their families, their jobs, and their country should they choose to vote otherwise. Koch Industries is run by billionaire brothers Charles and David Koch. They've helped to bankroll the Tea Party movement and dozens of other right-wing causes. Koch Industries and other corporations are legally allowed to pressure their workers to adopt their political views at the ballot box because of last year's Citizens United Supreme Court decision. The ruling granted free speech rights to corporations and effectively removed regulations preventing employers from politically manipulating their workers. In practice, employers can also fire workers who refuse to attend political seminars or dare to voice their dissenting opinions too loudly. For more, we're joined by the authors of the expose, Mike Elk and Mark Ames. Both are contributing editors to The Nation. Mike joins us from Washington, D.C. Mark Ames from here in New York. Mark, let's begin with you. Start off with the documents that you got.
Well, as we were investigating the story, it was Mike Elk, my partner on this story, who got a hold of this newsletter that was sent out. It was October 4th of last year, and it was sort of an election packet dated October 4th with a cover letter from the COO and president of Koch Industries, which is the head of this giant conglomerate, saying that for the first time we feel that these elections, that is last November's elections, are so urgent and we're in such a dire situation that we're actually sending out this entire voting packet, including a list of candidates in federal and local elections that we believe we urge you, or we strongly recommend that you vote for.
Okay, so that's some historical content on the Koch brothers and things that they started doing in 2010. I think his father, though, it goes back further. His father was a massive right-wing extremist. I know there's been some reporting on him. Do you know much about his dad, the original Koch?
Yeah, so Jane Meyer wrote a book called Dark Money, and she talks about Fred Koch and how he was building oil refineries, and he had built one apparently in Nazi Germany and had done business as well, working with Stalin. So yeah, I mean they're the money is not great.
It's attached to some dirty things, and it seems to me the Koch brothers themselves grew up in a very right-wing extremist environment, and they took those lessons from their father. So he obviously did business with Nazis. That's pretty gross. I mean,
they of course deny it.
Right. Well, there's always that. So, but that now, flash forward to now, that hasn't stopped. We have a QAnon fangirl in Congress now. Marjorie Taylor Greene is her name. She just won her election, and she's not only just a QAnon nutcase, she received money from Koch Industries. So again, how distanced are the Koch brothers or Koch Industries from this stuff when they're still continuing to fund these right-wing extremists, right?
But it's about the debt, right?
It's about the debt.
It's about the debt. No, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a dangerous individual. She's a conspiracy theorist, so people can point to how kooky her conspiracy theories are. But at the core, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is a Nazi. I think I don't think that is hyperbolic. I think that at her core, that is what she is, and it's dangerous. Like having her in Congress is dangerous. And more evidence, I think, that the Biden administration needs to stop trying to find some bipartisan common ground with Republicans. You have people like this getting elected to the United States Congress. That is an alarm bell. That is a warning that you need to adjust course to and really disempower these movements. And I think the first step to doing that is guaranteeing every single American a $2,000 check. That is not me saying that $2,000 will end, racism or whatever. Right. But it will dial down. It will undeniably dial back the pressure here.
Oh, I agree.
And provide a release valve for some of it. Mm-hmm. And then obviously you have to focus on rooting out right-wing infiltration in government, in federal agencies, in law enforcement. You need to focus on deprogramming, as AOC said. Like this is a very dangerous moment in U.S. history. We are on the brink of possibly the worst depression in our history. That is coming on the heels of the second worst economic fallout since the Great, I think when counting the Great Depression as well. So you've got the Great Recession, and now you have the COVID crisis, and our federal response has been absolutely abysmal, and people are angry, and they're watching their livelihoods sort of trickle away from them, and they have for decades. Even before this crisis, 40% of American adults were struggling to afford basic necessities. That was in 2018, I believe that came out. 2017, 78% of full-time workers were living paycheck to paycheck. That includes almost 10% of people making $100,000 a year. That is staggering, because most people don't make $100,000 a year.
Exactly. I mean, look, the last few years, you've seen more than 80% of the new wealth created go to the 1%. So income inequality, wealth inequality are both drivers of fascism. They're drivers of racism. I don't think that's a controversial statement.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, go ahead.
You'd be surprised.
All right. Okay. I personally don't think it's controversial. I think you're right on in that analysis. I do want to play a Marjorie Taylor Greene video, because I want our audience to really get the depth of her conspiracy theory stuff. Obviously, she's used things like satanic pedophiles, Jewish laser beams, or whatever that was. But she buys into a lot of crazy stuff. So I'm going to play one of her defenses of QAnon video, so people can hear in her own words the crazy stuff she has to say, and then we'll talk about how she got elected.
Have you guys been following 4chan, Q, any of that stuff? Anybody? I'm going to watch for your comments here. Okay, so we posted an article just a few days ago about who is Q. We posted that on American Truth Seekers. There has been a lot of chatter. I don't know how much you guys know about Q. It's an anonymous person. All right, so Q is a patriot. We know that for sure, but we do not know who Q is, okay? So now the question is, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to tell you, I don't know who Q is, but I'm just going to tell you about it because I think it's something worth listening to and paying attention to. Okay, and the reason why is because many of the things that he has given clues about and talked about on 4chan and other forums have really proven to be true. Okay, so there's some really interesting things about this person Q. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit some of the interesting things about it.
By the way.
It's perfect, yeah. All right, so we're back, and I'm sorry that you all lost brain cells listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I think it's important that we know what we're talking about, how crazy. When Walker and I say she's pushing crazy conspiracy theory, not hyperbolic at all, obviously. So she's basically what I would call, and the folks that voted for her are what I would call a useful idiots for the wealthy elites. So the Koch brothers gave her money, the House Freedom Caucus, Trump's ex-chief of staff, ex-Trump's Mark Meadows, ex only because he's no longer in office, Jim Jordan. So very much supported across the line by what most people would say are generally mainstream Republicans. I don't think Jim Jordan is considered on the fringe at this point. What do you think, Walker?
I think the entire Republican Party should be considered on the fringe.
Walker,
I don't know.
This is why I have you on with me today. You're right.
I mean, if you look across the issues of what Americans actually support, their positions just simply aren't even there, like on the spectrum. Like, this is a far right party that is politically disconnected from what Americans want, and the only reason they win elections is because people hate Democrats.
True.
And also they have the built-in, you know, crazy religious racist vote. And not to dismiss every conservative who votes Republican, but you know, there is a substantial element to that, and that is what Marjorie Taylor Greene represents. This sort of wingnut, racist, just toxic. You know, but the problem is that she is a spectacle, and she distracts from the actual danger of the fact that she is in Congress. This person won an election. This person is in the federal government, and every you know, every time somebody like this gets in, it just pushes the envelope that much more. You had Sarah Palin in 2008. Who was, you know, legitimized as the vice presidential candidate. And then that pushed us, you know, even farther to the right, the Tea Party movement. And as you point out astutely, all funded, you know, gladly funded by these billionaire assholes.
Right.
But and I think that does speak to the fact that they're only in it for themselves. The problem is that they can get away if shit goes really south, most people cannot.
That's right.
The world that we have created is one in which capital is sovereign, and so, you know, they're free to sort of act and go where they please, but we're stuck with a government that is run by people like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.